is that if I have two curves that are shifting, and I don't tell you any information about how much the magnitude of the shift is, shift them by the same amount. Because the variable that does not change in quantity or in, let's just call it in quantity, right? Whether it's the quantity of the product or the quantity of the price, right? Whichever one doesn't change is the ambiguous variable. Okay, so shift them by the same amount. The one that does not change is the ambiguous variable. In this example here, what we can see is that when supply falls and demand rises, it will always be the case that quantity will be the ambiguous variable. The other variable will be unambiguous. Let me show you that it will be unambiguous. I'm going to show you that it's going to be unambiguous because what I'm going to do is I'm going to have something where the demand curve shifts very little and the supply curve changes a lot. And another example where the supply curve shifts only a very little bit and the demand curve changes a lot. That would be these two pictures right here. In this example right here, what you would see is that what I get is that the price is still increasing, but now I'm getting my quantity to fall. Right? Compare that to the original situation where price was rising and quantity did not change at all. In the other example, I'm getting my price to rise and my quantity to rise. I'll notice in all three examples the price is always rising. No matter what the scenario is, the price will always increase. But depending on the magnitude of the shift, the quantity will either fall, stay the same, or rise. Now, I would strongly encourage you to look at the notes and at the textbook, which actually gives you an example of all the various types of scenarios where you could have the demand curve shifting and the supply curve shifting. But again, I think you'll get it much easier as you get more practice. But then also just remember my tip, that when you have two curves shifting, shift them by an equal magnitude, because the variable that does not change is then going to be your ambiguous variable. The one that does change when you shift them by the same magnitude will be your unambiguous variable. For something again to be an ambiguous variable, it means that it requires more information. I would have had to tell you that supply shifts more than demand, or vice versa. If I don't give you that kind of information, all that you can tell me is that price must definitely increase. Right? It must do so in an unambiguous fashion, but that you would need more information to tell me what would happen to the equilibrium quantity. That is an ambiguous variable. Okay, that kind of concludes here then lecture 3, which is probably the more difficult material. It'll also be a great deal of focus on it for the exam. So I want you to watch these videos, read the textbook, and then also look at the lecture notes. Let me know if there's something that you want me to cover in more detail in terms of the lecture for either this chapter 3 or for the others. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here, and then at this point I'll take any requests for additional videos as you email them to me.